Hey, all right, everyone. My name is Esther Ijewere. How are you today? Happy Valentine's to everyone. I hope that you're doing great. I hope you're all doing fine. And for those who are in Canada and all the very cold countries across the world, I hope you're keeping warm. I'm keeping warm out here. And it's an interesting program today. Listen, 2 days ago, I was it yesterday, I shared something. I was, from my big brother who would be joining us soon in a bit. And I had so many inbox messages from folks. And I said to myself, listen, is it like women, we don't speak up? I think we don't speak up. I love the honesty. I love the fact that people are now comfortable to say, this is a challenge that I have. And I am happy that, women who have been through some sort of bad relationship, they're not letting bitterness blind them from seeing that there is a possibility in going into an healthy relationship. And those are some of the things we're going to be addressing today. How do you identify a red flag from a green flag? We've seen so much on the internet in the past few years. When people break up, you start hearing different things. People start hearing their stories on the internet. That is not what we want. We want people to move out of those relationships and still keep their sanity, right? So that when you want to go into the next relationship, you are whole, you are wholesome, and you are healthy as well. So I'm going to be bringing my guests at exactly 3:30. But I want to know, for those who are joining, if you can see me on Facebook, please let me know. If you can see me on the YouTube channel, let me know. If you can see me on Instagram as well, let me know, because we're live on all three platforms. We want the information to go around. And it's Valentine's Day. Everybody deserves love, and they have to also be open to loving people. How has your Valentine's Day been? Let me know in the comment section. Let me know. I want you guys to bring all those DMs you've been sending me. Bring it out. Bring it out and let people see. So before I bring my guest, I'm going to read his profile. It's a very powerful profile. And trust me, I'm keeping it really short because of our time. Praise Fowowe is a globally recognized family strategist and founder of Praise Fowowe Research LLC in Irving, Texas. With over 2 decades of experience, he has helped individuals, families, government, and faith-based organizations optimize relationships through family systems engineering. His work has transformed family dynamics across 5 continents. Recently, he was honored with the President's Lifetime Achievement Award by US President Joe Biden for his contributions to family life innovation and global family dynamics. I'm going to have him answer some questions around that. He has pioneered impactful programs like the Family Systems Engineering Certification, Out of the Box Parenting, and Ready for Life Child Development Program. All of this you can see on his website, praisefowoweinternational.com, I believe. I'll be sharing more details in the comments, for those of you who might want to connect with him after the show. But that's it. That's a powerful profile of my guest today, and I'm bringing him on stage. Bro, how are you today? Happy Friday.
Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day to you, Esther. Good to be here as well.
Yes, sir. And you're wearing the red color. You're representing Val.
But you know that on a normal day I wear red.
Yes, I know you like red and black.
I have never shown up anywhere in the last 9 years of my life without a touch of red on me.
Is that a passport thing? Because I know in one of your classes you taught us passport.
Yes. Red. Okay. There's something red does to me. No matter how weak I am, once I see the color, I get energized. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. You guys, you got that there, and that's a family like therapy. You see, there is some. I'm gonna listen. Everything he says today, you will learn from. It's an honor for me to have him here. So, bro, you recently, got this huge award from President Joe Biden.
Yes.
And I know you're very, very humble with your accomplishment, but it's huge. It is big. How does it make you feel to be recognized at that level?
You know, Esther, and you know me very well, maybe more than most people out there, at least at a close call. Um, Initially, it was like I was dreaming because I mean, I'd just done like maybe 4 years in America, or maybe less than 4 years, and but I've done a whole lot of work. And you know, Nigeria has conditioned me not to expect anything, you know, because I mean, you do a lot in Nigeria, and you see a lot of people do less, and they get national awards, and you're wondering, Chris, don't put your mind on anything. And my mom would say to me that, you know, they say Nigeria is not worth dying for. He says, so don't expect anything, just keep doing what you're doing. And for America to recognize what I've done, you know, within a short period, it was, I felt like I was dreaming. So I felt, okay, this is not real. You know, are they trying to scam me? And then, so when the award came, I just sat down there, and I had to be grateful because it feels so good to live in an environment where they recognize what you do for what you do. You're right. Because you see a lot of people in Nigeria who don't do anything. Maybe they paid to get something, or and then people praise them. But I've still gotten used to not even being recognized because I've got a lot of awards in Nigeria that would say, "Oh, praise, we should give you this, but then you need to send this money for you to." And I'm like, I don't need to send any money for an award that I deserve to get. So I would refuse to send the money that I wouldn't get. They wouldn't get back to me. So I've gotten used to not getting anything, just doing my work. And so this was a big deal for me. And for the first time, it made me really, really look back at some of the things I've done. And I had to say to myself, Praise, you've done well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I like the last part. We need to affirm who we are to ourselves. And I love the fact that you affirmed it to yourself that you've done well. 20 years in the industry as a family life strategist. What is one thing that keeps you going? What is that thing that, you know, just the drive every morning you wake up and you say, I want to do more. I want to keep contributing. I want to keep adding value. What is that thing, sir?
You know, it's a sense of love for humanity. I love people. I want people to be better, right? And I know that what ignorance can do to a generation, you know, and so and I love Africa as well. I want my African brothers to do well. So it pains my heart when their marriages don't work or when their life is not working. And so whenever I wake up in the morning, you know, I'm saying to God, it's a good day to add value. And I must tell you, for example, I've been down with flu for like maybe 3-4 days right now. In fact, my doctors had to change my meds, but you wouldn't see it on me, right? Because I wake up with every sense of duty every day to say, you know what, it's another day to touch lives, because you can never tell what you will say to someone that will save them. And I've done that before. Sometimes I post something and someone is saying to me, Praise, do you realize that I was on the verge of committing suicide? I just came on your page and I saw this. And so when you hear those things, you ask yourself, what's the cost of not doing this? Who is going to die because you don't do this, right? So, and as someone who is saddled with, you know, who is a pioneer, because I literally created an entire sector that never existed in Nigeria, you know you have to take the lead and you have to show people that these things work and that they can actually get help. Yeah.
Amazing. That's fantastic. And what is one experience you've had in 20 years that shook you in some way? You know, because I know you've heard stories, of course, without going into context, just that one thing that made you realize, whoa, like there are so many problems in the world.
So I'll give you, I mean, there have been a lot of stories about backstabbing, people you gave your life to, provided support, lifted their hands, backstabbing you and all those things. But those ones don't move me because people don't hurt me, people only reveal. But I'll tell you one client that came and said to me that they didn't have money, you know, for their session. And the bad thing about me is that in the early days, maybe up until like 2 years ago, even if you don't have money, I'm going to do it. I never walk away from anybody. I'll find a way to accommodate you. You know, so I don't even consider myself as a business person, as it were. Consider myself as someone who just loves to help. And so this person, we didn't have, the marriage was on the verge of breaking. They had filed for divorce. So I put myself in there, put 10 weeks of my life into it, you know, and they came back together. Things started working. And so when they had recovered, I didn't hear from them anymore. And then I think the third week, my friend was doing child education, invited me to his church. And then I got to the church. I mean, I don't just like to go for Thanksgiving. I would like to worship. So I got to the church, I was worshiping, and then there was testimony time, and this couple came and they were like, they want to thank God for what God has done. The marriages has been troubled. They were almost going to divorce, but the pastor gave the word, and then the word healed their marriages. They've come to thank God. And so to appreciate God, they're donating a car. They bought pastor a brand new car. I froze where I sat. They bought pastor a brand new car, but they didn't have money to pay for my sessions. And at that point in time, I was going to be bitter to say, you know what, Praise, you never do anything for free for anybody again. But I realized, I look back and I look at the message and the grace I've received from God as well, to say, you can allow what a group of people will do to now determine you, because if you do that, then they've won. And I remember saying to myself that, have you ever imagined God becoming devil because human beings don't praise him? Whatever you've done for God, you will reap what you sow, not necessarily where you sowed it, right? Because every time you reap what you sow, where you sowed it, you will begin to manipulate people. So I just said, God, well, what I do for them, I lift it up to you. And that was it. It was painful, but then, and since then, I've gotten some mega deals, that I didn't even know where it came from, So somehow it balances itself out, But I mean, it's been a whole lot I don't want to tell you about when I used to regulate prostitutes, and the prostitute will lock me up and say, okay, you either do or, so it was experience in 20 years.
Oh my God, that's quite an experience. I can imagine, the way you felt just being in the church and hearing the testimony. But beyond that, it's the fact that I'm taking away the mess to the grace part. Yeah. Not allowing the mess block the grace of God upon our lives. And that's a huge one. And so that brings me to, the topic for today. It's a major topic, red flags versus white flags. How to choose the right partner. I know this is something that you've done over the years, helping couples and singles to navigate the path in choosing the right partner. So my first question is, what are the key red flags people often overlook in relationships? What are those red flags that we just ignore? They are there, but we ignore them.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say is that an average human being wanting to get a relationship is unaware that they themselves have been compromised by the people that raised them. So when you are not aware of the trauma that is in your life as a result of your upbringing, as a result of what your parents consciously or unconsciously did to you, you will begin to think that you need someone else to complete you. And that in itself is the first red flag, where you do not believe you can survive, exist by yourself without someone. And so a lot of people are needy. So they are running into love because they think love will heal them or love will fill the vacuum that exists in them. I always say to people that you're not ready for a relationship until you get to that point where you actually are independent enough that you think you don't need anyone. Because it takes independent people to be interdependent. What we have are dependent people trying to be interdependent, and it never works. And so you find out that many people manifest pseudo personality, especially if you're an African and then you grew up under parents who didn't have respect for you, or you are a firstborn child in Africa. If you're a firstborn child, you're likely going to manifest a pseudo personality because I don't know where our parents got the notion from that the firstborn must lead in everything. So there were firstborn who were made to take responsibility for their siblings. They were punished for what their siblings were doing. So they learned to take a lot of responsibility, especially the girl firstborn, that by the time they get in a relationship, they are trying to take responsibility. It's a pattern they have unconsciously become competent at. So the guy has no job. They take responsibilities. They are giving him allowance, helping him to build the CV, helping him to get a job. But meanwhile, the guy is interpreting that maybe she's buying love because actually they try to buy love because that's where their parents raised them. And so eventually the guy gets good and then he has money and then he runs away with another person that he can provide for. And they feel like, oh no, these guys are, because you have built a pattern that you first need to heal from trauma. And so that's the first red flag that people need to, check, which is self-evaluation to say, am I myself? Do I love myself? Or I'm just trying to throw myself out there because of, And number two will be connection red flag to say, how many friends do I have in my life, right? Lots of people don't know that friendship is the crucible in which great relationships are fought. And so because they are unaware, they have not. So I see people say to me, Praise, get me a spouse, get me someone to love, and I'm asking, do you have 11 eligible singles in your life who are your friends and who subscribe to your values? And they say, I don't. That's already a red flag for me, because it means you don't have a support system and you're a candidate for abuse, right? Because you don't have, I have friends in my life who tell me, Praise, you they mad, right? And we joke about it, right? Because they watch my back. And I think the lost art of friendship is the biggest injustice done to relationships, because people are talking to acquaintances and they think they are their friends. So in the framework, I teach what we call the triad of relationship. In the triad, you have the outer court, you have the inner court, you have the holies of holies. Your holies of holies are the only people who are worthy of your secrets. But people in the outer court and they tell them, tell the outer, if you tell outer court your secret, the outer court will live stream it.
Yeah.
And don't know, because they are not even aware of what it means or who a friend is, and they're not aware who they should be talking to. And so when you can't build adequate friendship, or people say to me, I say, who are your friend? I don't have any friend. The last friend, in fact, that friend, he did something and I walked out on him. That's a candidate for divorce to even start with, because it means you can't build a relationship. Right. And so that brings me to number 3, right? That when you meet someone who has had the previous relationship and is bad-mouthing the person and keeping the blame for the break of that relationship absolutely on the other person, is a red flag. Those that gossip against you, they are going to gossip you very soon if care is not taken.
Correct.
Right? So if everything they say about the person is totally bad and they can't spot anything good, that's a red flag. You don't want to get into a relationship with that kind of person. Number 4 is patterns that predict us of the future. So if you look at the person, who are they? I always ask people, who is he to himself? Right? Or who is he to herself? So how do they self-nurture? How do they take care of themselves? Who is he or she to the people around them? How does he talk to his father, talk to his mother, talk to his sibling, talk to his friend? Who are they to you? When you're around them, do you feel at your maximal strength or do you feel less than yourself? Because a lot of guys have another person in their mind, but then they are dating someone else and they want the person to conform to the image of the person in their mind, which I think is very disrespectful.
Yeah.
Right? And so when do you feel less than yourself? You can't overlook that. And that brings me to the last thing I'm talking about, which is the difference between obsession and love. See, a lot of people take obsession for love. The moment you are seeing someone and the person tries to isolate you from your support system, that's a red flag. So you have these friends that you have kept all your life. Your friends are not perfect, right? Yeah. But you love them nevertheless. You know the ones who are, but you found the way to. But then you are in this relationship and the person begins to tell you, this is your friend. I don't want you to work with this person again. You need to choose between this person and me. You see, molesters will first isolate you before they pummel you. You need to understand that, right? And so it begins to tell you. And then when you come to your senses and you say, no, this is not what I bargained for, they begin to gaslight you, or they become, cry baby. They begin to cry. I'm sorry, I will not do that anymore. Blah, blah. But everywhere you're going, they're checking you. They can't stand other people around you. That is obsession. That is not love. Because obsession manifests as love a whole lot. But these things are there. You are dating someone and then you can't talk to your friends freely. You can't hug someone and their facial expression, that person has low self-esteem, has not dealt with insecurity. And if you marry someone who is insecure, what you are going to get is a marital cage. It's not married. And so these are some of the red flags that people overlook, maybe because they are desperate to marry or because they just think, I can manage it. So the rule of thumb is this. If you cannot stand the current reality of the person you are seeing for the rest of your life, don't deal. That is going to change, it's not given. Even if you promise I'm going to change, it's not given. If it's someone who is slapping you right now, if you are ready for that slap for the rest of your life, deal. If you can't stand that slap, don't deal. Right? Because you can't change anybody. And you need to understand that. But a lot of people will think, we've gone far. Oh, we slept with each other. So I might have invested. If you invest in something that is good, you invested in a plane, and then they say the plane is going to crash. Are you going to board the plane? But that's where some of us believe we behave with our destiny. Say, we're going to sink and die together. This is my first love. This is the only love of my life. This is not the only love of you. Like person drops dead, you are going to leave, right? So people, I think the biggest job we need to do is the job of wholesomeness. And that's what I do with most of my clients. To say, can we take you back to default? Before you met this person, who were you? Right? What was your life like? Have you ever been happy with yourself? Because if you've never been happy, then there's no human being that can make you happy. Right? And so that is what I think that the basic red flags that people need to pay attention to in their bid to find the right partner. Esther, are you there? Okay, looks like maybe Esther's network or something dropped off. Yeah, but if you're listening, basically, you need to understand these things and understand that you've got what it takes, right, to make your life work, regardless of what anybody is doing. So it starts with your own personal happiness. To say, are you happy with yourself, right? If you are not happy with yourself, then there's no relationship that can make you happy. There is no human being. In fact, you cannot delegate and abdicate your responsibility into the hand of everyone. Anyone that can make you happy can also make you sad. So why would I want to make you happy when I can actually make your life miserable, right? And so if you find those kind of people, they are just outliers. You need to prioritize your happiness. You need to prioritize what you want out of your life. And it starts with self-evaluation, being honest. I mean, we have a lot of tools that we use to help people gauge exactly where they are. So, I mean, we have, what we call a rectangle that we use that will first check you, what do you know about yourself that nobody knows about you, right? And so those are your trade secrets. Those are your strengths. Those are your secrets. Maybe you're a billionaire. Nobody knows you're a billionaire, right? And that's very good. You keep that. What do you know about yourself that people know about you, right? What is it that you don't know about yourself that people know about you? That's your blind spot. You need to pay attention to it, right? Because if you don't pay attention to it, that will close all kinds of doors against you. And then what are the things you know about yourself that you need, right? Those are the things you become aspirational for, and that's where you get mentoring. So it becomes very important for everyone, to know exactly what they're doing and who they are, and work on themselves to become the best version of themselves. I mean, my heart goes out to a lot of people who get in relationships and the red flags are there, and then they know the red flags are there, but then they just have to go ahead because they say things like, a devil is better than an unknown angel or something like that. But the question I'm asking is, can an angel be bad? Can a devil be good? Right? So they keep comparing bad with worse. As I say, they've never had to choose between good and bad. It's always been bad and worse. So they will say, you know what, this guy is better than the past bad lover. And what makes him better? They say he doesn't rape me. He just does at least this one. Before he eventually rapes me, at least he kisses me. Right? And so see what they're comparing. And then you are looking at them and you're wondering, what are you saying exactly? You deserve better than these two people, right? But they can't see it because their soul has been compromised. And so it's important for people to know that beyond red flags, you need to check yourself. And one of the things I found out with many of my clients is that a lot of them are dealing with trauma, right? And they have not healed from that trauma. And you see, what trauma does is very simple. You are like an energy field, right? And you see, as an energy field, you are vibrating and sending out frequencies every time you go out, right? So as you are walking around, you are sending vibes into the atmosphere. Now, if you have trauma that is unresolved, what you begin to do is you are sending traumatic vibes to the atmosphere, and that will attract a partner into your life who is also good but has trauma. And that trauma never shows up when they show up. And before you know it, you get in a relationship and you realize that I thought this guy is good. I thought he's born again. I thought he's a Christian. I thought he's this. I thought he's that. Right? And so I always say to people, if you always attract the same kind of people, you want to check and ask yourself, why am I following the same pattern? It means that you need to check yourself in and get someone to assist you heal from your trauma. Okay. So Esther is saying that there's a network challenge, and we are hoping to have her back on the show shortly. Just hold on, let me check.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I was gonna switch, but I was gonna send, because they said I couldn't see it on Instagram as well. So a couple of people messaged me that they cannot see it on Instagram. I don't know what happened, but it's on YouTube. So, but then please let us go on.
Yes.
I wanted to send you a new link. Maybe it would help us connect to Instagram, but let's continue.
Yeah. So I just finished talking about, because I kept talking when you were gone, sharing some
Sorry
of the red
about that.
flags and what people need to do. Yeah.
Sorry about that. All right. So what are the white flags that we should look out for? Because of course you've spoken about that. I cannot even wait to see all you talked about while I was gone. My sincere apologies to everybody. I want to apologize. And that's why you need to work with experts, So I know that he understands the assignment. My sincere apologies, guys. All right, sir. So thank you so much. So what are the white flags that we need to look out for? What do they look like?
Okay, number one, accountability. You can go to sleep when you are with someone who has accountability figure over their lives. Human beings are built to be interdependent. So if you're dating someone who doesn't have someone that can call them to order, who can tell them, he doesn't have a mentor who is credible, because some mentors are not credible. I mean, so imagine the person he calls his mentor has like 5 side chicks and all those things. And then, so if it's cheating on you, he's going to meet his man and say, well, man, we just take it like that. So you want to check out who the mentors are, who is that figure over their life. And I don't mean their parents that can tell them, sit down, and they absolutely defer to. Because when a human being outgrows systems, it becomes a monster. And a lot of people are falling in love with monsters. So the person must pass the test of accountability, right? That's very key. The person must pass the test of respect for your person, right? To say, you know what, I respect you and I regard you. And you must visibly see that, right? So if you have someone in your life and you're saying, and the person doesn't take an offense when you have a divergent opinion, that's the white flag. Because a lot of people think disrespect is that I have a divergent opinion. No, that's not being disrespectful. I'm a human being. I'm entitled to an opinion that is different from your opinion. You can't be angry that I'm not supporting your part. Because I see people teach some of these things and they say, as a wife, you can't have a divergent opinion from your person, from your man. And I'm like, where is this coming from? In fact, one of the days we were having a board meeting, and then I took a position in the board meeting, and my wife took a contrasting position, and it became a heated argument, right? And then we were debating on it, and she matched up on, I matched up upon. Then we called for a time and went for tea break. During tea break, she went to bring her food, and then, she went to bring her food, and we started eating together, and we were playing, and we were gisting. And someone called me aside to say, what's going on? Why would your wife go against you, and then you guys are still playing? And I said, because that was boardroom. In the boardroom, she wasn't my wife, she was my colleague. I said, this is outside now, she's my wife, right? I said, so we don't mix bedroom and boardroom together, right? So I was looking at the man and I realized that it's typically a kind of man who cannot stand his wife having a contrary opinion. Because you're not bringing an idiot into the relationship. You are bringing a human being with a brain into the relationship. So if you cannot stand a contrary opinion from your opinion, then that's a problem. So someone who sees you, who respects your opinion, who takes it into consideration, that's a white flag in there. Then you can't beat knowledge, right? Because sometimes a lot of people think that all you need is money to make a relationship work, right? I want to check. One of the white flag is what templates does he have about relationship? Has he read any book? Has he attended any seminar? Is he working with someone? That becomes very key. And number 4 will be, if you decide to say, okay, we're in a relationship right now, I need to introduce you to the people that matter in my life, including my mentors. He's willing to follow you to go see the mentors, right? Once he begins to tell you, we don't need to see anybody, we need to keep this thing within ourselves, that's a problem, right? So he has nothing to be afraid of. He won't be scared of following you to wherever you need to go. But you see, basically, I always tell people the most important white flag is wholesomeness. Just make sure that there's no trauma left unhanded or attended to in his life, because a man or a woman that has mastered self and that can apologize for a wrong, has the awareness to apologize for a wrong, it's a white flag any day. Because some don't have the awareness. In their wrong, they are still arguing. They are still blaming you. They are still gaslighting you. So someone who has, because we're not perfect, we're going to make mistakes, who has the awareness to say, you know what, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done this. And I'm willing to go through whatever process I need to recover from this. That's a white flag for me.
That's powerful. And what I hear mostly is accountability.
Yes.
A person that can take accountability is a person that has major white and green flags. Now, that brings me to the next question. We've talked about the red flags. We've talked about the things that you need to look out for that makes a person awesome. Now, how can someone heal from past relationship trauma before choosing a partner? You mentioned it as part of the reason why a person is awesome. But a person who is still dealing with trauma from a past relationship, how can they heal from that?
You know, you don't use a relationship to heal another relationship, to heal the past trauma. And that's what I see a lot of people do. You know, I'm sitting with people who are divorced sometimes, and I'm analyzing their patterns, and I'm realizing that some of them have never taken a break from a relationship in 25 years. That in entitlement, there's no, you can't see any gap of 6 months where they stayed by themselves. So it means that that relationship is their crack. They're actually a relationship addict, right? So that is their escape. So they find the next person they escape into. So they find the next person they escape. So they are literally running from something. And so they run into the next person. And so that person has a trauma. If I run an attachment style assessment on them, I can literally see what the attachment style looks like, right? And so people need to understand that relationship is like death. That's why we recommend grief therapy. Relationship also have its own grief therapy, right? You need to learn to grieve. I mean, you lost a 6-year relationship. I mean, it's first you are going to live in denial to say, no, it's not true. It's going to come back and you know, so then you go through the 7 steps thereabout, you know, of trauma.
Correct.
Right? But a lot of people, they just think, you know, while they are still dealing with something, and they run into another. And that's why you need to get a professional to work with, because what we do in trauma is to analyze what you're been through and then to check what does it mean to you. Because if you warehouse trauma and you don't heal, right, you are going to bring that into your next relationship, and you're going to be processing the next relationship through the prism of the person that hurt you. And so a lot of new partners are victim of what they don't even understand. So somebody hurt somebody, and you see, people don't understand that when you leave a relationship, the first thing that happens to you is that you no longer have the capacity to fully give of yourself to the other person, to the new person, right? Without unpacking the pain. Some people actually went through a relationship that totally altered their life. They lost their confidence. They lost their identity. So the you that is trying to date someone else is a pseudo you. You no longer exist. So instead of finding themselves first, they just run into the next person, and then that becomes their label. People give them a funny reputation that is not theirs, right? And so it's important to know that going through trauma therapy is a way of finding yourself. In fact, finding yourself before the relationship, because I always ask, you know, what was your mindset? What was your mental headspace when you were taking this relationship, making this relationship? And they realized that they were not in the right okay, so what caused this thing? So sometimes we were thinking when we're starting that we're just going to be dealing with the previous relationship, and then we realized that we are dealing with age 5. A trauma that happened from age 5 that altered their life into the person who became, you know, the person that could say yes to the wrong person. Right? And so it's a whole lot to unpack. And that's why I always beg people, especially our people, you see, going through sessions with a professional is not a thing of shame, regardless of whether you're a celebrity or not. It's an admission that I need help. I want to find me, and I want to be better, right? But then people don't understand these things, and then they're just going to go to another accident waiting to happen, and before you know it, someone has gone through 4 relationships and none has really worked, right? I mean, we have our brother in America who is about to leave another person now, And then I saw in the newspaper, they saw how many ladies he has been with since 2001 or something. They're running into maybe 17 now, So it's a big issue. People need to admit that, you know what, I feel hurt, because nobody leaves a relationship and, all you do is you're excited about it. You first know that for you to have even gone in a relationship, there's something you feel for the person. And then for the moments you've spent together, you need to allow yourself grief. It's okay to grieve.
Correct.
It's okay to feel bad, right? And it's okay to eventually recover before you now decide. And not that your needs when you took that first relationship are no longer your needs. So what you're going to be considering for the next relationship is totally different. But many people don't know. They still consider what they considered when they fell into that wrong relationship, and that takes them to the wrong relationship.
Yeah. Amazing. I mean, the way you said that about the part of people escaping into the next relationship. Now, as a professional, when you meet people like that, how do you, permit me to use the word, diagnose them? How do you diagnose them? How do you let them see that they're just escaping? They're using those relationships as an escape to avoid healing.
An average person, especially an average African that is opinionated, will never listen to you when you say some of these things. Sometimes I'm sitting with people and I can literally see trauma. Sometimes I'm invited to a talk show and I'm asking my host, why are you doing what you're doing? Right? You are masking a pain, right? A lady was coming to invite me for a program Sunday, and then I ended up counseling with her. Why are you doing this event? It looks like you are doing this event to prove something. And I was correct. I've done this for over 20 years. So my sense of judgment is almost very accurate right now. Right? And so, but what we do is to bypass conscious resistance. So there are new tools that we deploy. So I'm not likely going to go directly and tell them, hey, I'm just going to tell them, okay, let's do this tree of life exercise. And when they're doing the exercise tree of life, I can literally show them from their scores that, see here. So what happened here? Separate. Don't let's not talk about that. So what happened here? Don't let's talk about what happened here. So you can see it all the time when you say, I've never told it. Someone told me last week, Separate, what I said to you, I have never shared with anybody in my life. I don't even know why. I said it was because I bypassed conscious resistance, because if I'd come directly, you won't have shared some of these things. Right. And so people need to understand that we are here to help. And one of the things that has happened with many of my clients is that they trust me, right? They trust me enough because one, people don't like for you to use their stories as a sample, and some people are just open-mouthed. Whatever you say to them gets everywhere, So people have got to trust you, and so I do a lot of my work that is coded. There are so many people I work with that you can't even see them around me, And so I have lots of people talking to me at the highest level, and then I'm not sharing it. I'm not mentioning names. You're not seeing me around. I'm not taking pictures, because your work is confidentiality as your number one core value. So it's not, you don't, it doesn't define it's not an esteemed thing to say, I will see who I'm working with. I'm working with some top people. My wife is not even aware I'm working with them, because it's my confidentiality clause in my work with them and stuff like that. Right.
Correct.
So people need to know that they can actually get help and that help is available. But the moment that you are not absolutely happy. In fact, sometimes when people type some things on social media, you can see what they are projecting. You can literally see, but again, you just keep quiet and hope that they realize it. And some people never change until they get to threshold. Threshold is that stage where you know that, I can't go beyond here. I've been trying to cover it up. I've been trying to mask it, but then I can't go beyond here, right? So, and sometimes before they get to threshold, it's almost late. But then you still have to do what you have to do.
You have to do. Thank you so much. And I like the confidentiality part because I think that would resonate with a lot of people. And that, of course, brings me to the next question. And what role does emotional intelligence play in building a healthy relationship? This age and time of fast fingers, people want to post everything online. People want to quickly announce things instead of letting it marinate first. What role does emotional intelligence play in building a healthy and, let me add, solid relationship?
If you can't master this guy, You should not be in a relationship. If you cannot post something and then delete it and say to yourself, I don't need to post this now, then you should not be in a relationship. Do you know how many things I delete that I would have almost posted it? You even know, Esther, you know some things you will post, I'll say, anytime, pull it down, right? Because you need people in your life. It's not everything you get involved with. It's not every battle you get involved with. I mean, there's somebody who was fighting somebody, and I love the guy, someone I respect. I have gone on his page to comment about that person because I've had a previous relationship to confirm. Then I'm like, is this needed? If you don't type this thing, what will happen to you? Nothing. So I didn't. Right? And so if people cannot self-regulate, because part of emotional intelligence is self-regulation, they should not be in a relationship, because the question you are asking yourself is, okay, we want to take a relationship on social media. So that what can happen? Is it for clicks? If you are taking it because you want to get clicks to make money, I will understand that you are doing business. But so that what can happen? So that you can announce to people who have never handled a relationship before, or people who are even dealing with their own issue, to analyze and turn you to a butt of jokes. And sometimes I'm asking myself, do people think before they do some of the things they do? Do they even have people who are their sounding board to say, can I? Because if what you want to post or what you want to say, I've been on a lot of podcasts. I have been pushed many times to cast some people, but I resist the urge, because at the end of the day, when people watch your podcast, the question is, what value? What they will remember is not the funny stories. What value have we gained? Right? Or else you just turn yourself to a gossip. Right? And so when people can no longer say, you know what, I will go a day without posting anything. If you have gotten to that level where when you wake up, your phone is the first thing you pick, you sleep with your phone, you are already a phone addict. Right? And you are going to be in trouble very soon. Because you are going to be saying things that you don't mean. You won't even at some point you are tired.
Correct.
And so people need to get to the point, where people are even asking, who are his children? Who are his wife? I mean, where is his wife? Or where is her husband? And you are just, because every human being is that sense of mystery, where people can't figure you out.
Yeah.
But some people by themselves, they bring themselves on social media, they bring their children on social media, because the internet never forgets. You have to understand that. So if you shame your spouse on social media, you are not aware that it's not just your spouse that you are shaming. Your child is going to get into a fight with his friend at school. His friend is going to reference the kind of home he's from. So he's it's not your father that was fighting your mother. Can I bring it out on social media? And they are reading it to you. Unfortunately, you are raising a generation alpha and beta, which is a generation that is not as emotionally resilient like us, right? Just the wrong word can get the child to commit suicide, right? And so emotional intelligence is a critical skill in this age and time. And I'm not going to, in fact, what we call immaturity, is actually lack of emotional intelligence.
Correct.
Right? Because once you're emotionally intelligent, you're a mature person. And what makes a mature person is, you know what to say, when to say it, how to say it, how not to say it, and when not to say anything.
Correct.
Because it's not, you need to, like we say in Nigeria, you need to sometimes resist the urge to shalaye. I don't hold the public my explanation. So sometimes silence is golden. Do you know how many cases, scandals, and some of the cases, this person left this person, that people are in my inbox. Grace, are you not going to speak to this one? Are you not going to speak to this thing? Are you not going to speak? We want to know your take. No, you can't know my take, because a fool is considered wise when he keeps quiet.
Yeah.
That's what the book of Proverbs says. Which means, until he opens his mouth, he's a wise person.
Correct.
But when he opens his mouth, you will know whether it's a fool or he's a wise person.
Correct.
Right? And so it's important for people. I always ask the question, without the internet, how would you have resolved the issue? If there was no phone, there was no social, in the days when we didn't have a phone, would you have gone to newspaper and say, sketch, I want to report my wife. Is that what you will be doing?
Mm-mm.
But what you wouldn't do in the days of sketch and daily times, don't do it with your phone,
Correct.
because that's where the balance lies for many people. Unfortunately,
Correct.
a lot of people will never listen to you, because at that point when they have their phone, their soul is gone.
Your soul
Yeah.
is gone. I hear emotional regulation. And I just want to share because you did mention that sometimes I post something and you just message like anything or bring it down. I also want to add this something that I do as a coping mechanism now. So there was a time I wanted to post something. I was so angry, and then I sent it to my coach here and my mentor, and then he read it like, "Don't post." And then the next thing, phone call. I'm like, okay. Then he broke it down for me on what the perception would look like. Now, from that moment, what I did is from that, I now created a WhatsApp group for myself, just me and me alone. So
Yes.
when I want to post anything, I would send it to that WhatsApp group. I'm the only person there. I would read it to myself. And like, girl, 5 years from now, how will this thing sound?
Yeah.
You know, 10 years from now, are you going to like this? Because
Mhm.
there are people who are perfect at screenshotting.
Yeah.
You post something within second, they already have the screenshot, even
Yeah.
after you delete. And as a media strategist, I know that the only work some people have on social media is to keep receipt.
Yeah.
You have nothing else. They are not going to comment on your page. So it's just me complimenting what he said. So if you're out here, you've just gotten out of a relationship. That is why it is important to go through therapy,
Yeah.
which is the next thing I want to ask you. What is the importance of therapy to healing, especially when it comes to relationships? Like we see people who are trying to heal on the internet.
Yeah.
We are trying to heal with comments and the validation of strangers, and they don't even realize that they are entertaining us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you, prioritize therapy, and how important is therapy to healing?
So let me backtrack a bit. This is the question I ask people. This is our generation right now. I listened to one of my teachers, is called Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard died maybe over 60 years ago.
Mhm.
But Neville Goddard today, all his knowledge, he was a poor man. Oh. All his knowledge then is one of the most monetized on YouTube today. Right? In fact, I almost believe that maybe people are now cloning his voice to keep saying that it's Neville Goddard, because I don't know how much he can could have taught all the things I see here today. If a generation will be born 2 generations after us,
Mhm.
and they have to curate what you have, and your great great grandchildren are reading what you have on your social media,
Mhm.
they turn it to a textbook.
Mm.
What would they have to say about you? Would they say our ancestor was a wise man, or is a stupid person?
Mm.
Can they put it together? Can it make money for people unborn? Is a question I want everybody to think about. He will guide and shape. That's why if you check all my pages, Facebook, Instagram, it's almost like you're in a school,
Mm.
right? And because I know that a generation is coming after us, we are being guided by the wisdom of the dead. The generation is going to come who will be guided by our wisdom. So
Mm.
what will they have? Will they say this person was just fighting every time, right? And so having said that, you see, what therapy is to a relationship that has not worked is what going to see a doctor is to when you are sick.
Mm.
Now, when you are sick, do you go on social media and say, guys, oh, my hands are shaking, my legs are shaking, what should I do?
Mm.
If you ask that question, everybody will give you their opinion. So somebody will say, go and bath with salt water. Another person would say, no, it's camphor you should put there. Another person. So if you don't expect your ailment to be cured by
Mhm.
going on social media space, the only thing you should be doing on social media space, if you are, say, okay, do you guys know a credible professional that can work with somebody on this?
Mm.
Right? Because again, why that question is also key is because there are so many people who are loud on social media who are quacks and very weak. They can't solve any problem. They don't even understand therapy. They don't understand strategy. They don't understand coaching.
Mm.
Right? They are just activists at best. So if you take your matter to those people, advice is what you get.
Mm.
Right? What we do in therapy basically is we are taking a history of where you're coming from. right? We're looking at patterns. We're looking at what has happened to have taken you to where you are. And then you are using that to create a new meaning to what you're going through so that your soul is able to accommodate and you're able to see the good in what you call bad and the benefit you can derive from it and what you can take into the future from it. Because the way your brain records issues, is totally different. You are a meaning making machine, and the meaning you give to an event is not the only meaning that exists. So we're helping you expand your awareness to see that, okay, what I thought was a pain was actually that was in the school. Life was preparing me for something that I'm going to be doing in the future. Now, once you see it from that perspective, everybody that hurts you become cast in the movie, right? And you look at them and say, oh, this person acted his role very well because without this person, I won't be here. Basically, that's what we do oftentimes. And then that takes you to a place where you can genuinely heal, especially when your expanded awareness now sees that the person that hurts you did not hurt you because they were bad. They hurt you because there was pain in their own life. Because people hurt other people. If they don't have pain in their life, there's no way they can give you pain. So you are just the recipient of their pain, of their own trauma that they have not healed from. So the question is, you want to pass the same trauma to other people? Do you want to injure more people, or you want it to end with you and you bring wholesomeness to other people? Basically, that's why people are fully healed when they talk about their story. They don't talk in a way that puts the other person who even hurt them down, right? They don't, it's not the bone of contention. It's not the topic, to say they mention the name. If you are mentioning the name and you are keep repeating that, basically you're looking for vengeance and you're trying to demonize the person, right? People who are fully healed, they pick the lesson from the pain, right? And they pick the inspiration for the future and they use it to bring healing to people. And that is wholesomeness. And that's why when people say that we don't look like what we have been through, that is correct. Because once you are fully wholesome, you are able to talk, about, you have some people that when they're talking, they'll be repeating the same story of what this person did to me, what this person did to me. And then you say you are bringing healing. You can't bring healing to people if you are just regurgitating the same story that we've had 1,001 times. Yes, your story, but this story did not happen 2 years ago. If it happened 10 years ago, what have you done between 10 years and now? Have you not done any other thing inspirational that can now help more people? So it's important for people to know that wholesomeness is where you want to be. And once you attain wholesomeness in therapy, you become an agent that can bring healing and wholeness to other people. Because our world actually needs more wholesome people. Because it takes wholesome people to create a wholesome world.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. The word wholesomeness, a lot of people need to understand that that's what therapy leads to. By the time you go through the process, you submit to healing, you are shooting to become an awesome person. So I've got a question on my WhatsApp from someone, and the person said they got out of a relationship 2 years ago, and they are now a single father. This is unusual. We usually don't have single fathers come up, and that they have 2 sons, and it's been a challenge getting into a relationship because the boys come in the way of the relationship, and he wants to know what to do. That what should he do? He wants to be in a relationship. He wants to have a healthy relationship, but because the children, they come in the way.
I don't know the age of the children. I would have loved to know their ages, right? Because there is a particular age where the children won't understand, right? And I want to know the relationship the children have with your ex, right? Because this is an incomplete information. If I can sit with a person, I'm able to analyze. And because what you don't also want to do, you don't want to introduce different people to your children because that may damage them as well, right? And so I want to know whether you've gone through any form of healing session, wholesomeness session, and how are you making your searches, right? So that you don't go attract someone who, because the boys will need to protect themselves, so they need to be sure that the person coming is not someone who is going. They also hear story, they read stories. They don't want another stepmom who is going to make their life miserable, who is going to prioritize our own children at the expense of them, and all those kind of things, So, and then even if you have found someone, the person needs to be eased in gradually, right? So this person is a friend. And so the person will need to make a huge impression on those children, right? That even after a while, they just know as your friend, they are the ones saying, Daddy, we like this auntie, we like that auntie, and blah, blah, blah. That's how these things work. So Children are not robots that you just bring a strange person and they will accept. However, they shouldn't also stop your life because they're also growing very fast. And very soon they're going to leave the house. And so if you don't do what you have to do, then you're going to look back and wonder, is it worth it? However, they need to be prepared for it. When their mother left, how did they feel? What do they feel about it? What level of access do they have to her? What co-parenting style are you guys deploying? Those are information I need before we can create a strategy for this person.
Absolutely. And how can this person connect with you to take this conversation further? Is there an email I can write in the comments for them?
They can send me a mail, first and last name at gmail.com, and then we'll send a calendar for them to schedule a session.
All right, that's Praise Fowowe at gmail.com. So for anyone who is listening right now, and I've got to say, you need to book a therapy session with him if you want to have a session. Send an email, official email to praisefowowe at gmail.com. Is there a calendar link though? Or they need to write email first? They need to send the email officially first.
You can send the email, but if they also want to use the Calendly directly, it's calendly.com/praisefowowe.
Okay, absolutely. And of course, so my next question is, how can singles set relationship standards without being unrealistic in this in this digital world of iPhone 15, iPhone 20, Samsung Ultra, cars, and today is Valentine. And I can imagine how many unrealistic expectations, or what we call unrealistic. So the question again, sir, is how can singles set relationship standards without being unrealistic?
Very simple. It's rule of thumb. Don't make a demand of someone else on what you have not earned enough income to buy for yourself. Wow. If you can't buy it for yourself, you can't afford it, and you don't need it. So if someone now gives it to you, it's a privilege, it's not a right. Because if you can't buy it for yourself, your father cannot buy it for you, then you don't deserve for someone else to now be put under pressure to buy it for you. Right? And that's so we say that you never show up on the marital table if you can't provide for yourself and maybe an extra amount. Yeah, because this notion that the man is coming and he must take care of you, is why a lot of people get into an abusive relationship. And the guy say, well, I'm the one buying your braids, I'm buying everything for you, so I can as well go and pick any other lady I like, because I know your sustenance is dependent on me, right? But if you, at least at whatever level, you can get yourself to a meeting, you can feed yourself, you can, even if it's one room you are living in, you have a roof over your head. My hand provided these things for me. And I am proud of what I have done with myself. But a lot of people, every time I see all these people who say, my boyfriend must be able to buy me a car, I want to check the kind of house they grew up from, the car their father drives or their mother drives. So you realize that many of them are from very poor background. So where did you suddenly get this phone idea that you are, and what job do you do really? Right? Now, if you are lucky to find someone who can afford it, no problem. I don't have a problem. But you cannot make that the basis of a relationship. Because the question I'm always asking, one time, myself and my wife, she needed to move out, and so she needed to stay in the basement, that year. And so I went to visit her. And then the room was very small. And then she was saying to me, I was living in another city, and she was saying to me, sweetheart, I know this place is not comfortable. I said, no, it's not about the space. If it's a hole, I will sleep, beside you inside the hole. It's about the joy of being with you. It's not, forget what the environment looks like. I don't look at that. Right? That when you are stripped of your car, when you are stripped of your Brazilian hair, when you are stripped of your shoes, of the designers that you wear, what do we have left? Do you exist? Because, my mentor said many years ago, and I will never forget, Dr. Mouse, he said, son, it is not what you wear that makes you a royalty. It is who you are that should make what you wear royal. I will never forget that. So he said to me, he said, A cheap cloth in the body of Bill Gates becomes a celebrity cloth because nobody will believe that is that cheap. And so when you meet rich people, truly wealthy people, and I've sat with some of them, I have some of them as clients, they don't talk about car. See what I fly. See, they don't. It is weak, poor people who don't exist, who are quick to flaunt a car. See the car, and when I go to Nigeria, right, I just speak. Sometimes I tell the people in the office, give me the pool car because it's fuel economy. So I take the pool car. It's a one tiny light, what's it called now? Camry or something like that. For me, my mentality, getting to the venue is what matters. So, but you see a lot of people, they've brainwashed themselves to believe that their life is dependent on what they can afford. And so they can't even afford it. And so they are putting pressure. And you hear news all the time of one girl goes missing. That girl goes missing. How did she manage to get into the hand of a kidnapper, that eventually got to a place where, because the person, if somebody looks at you right now and the person says, I'm giving you 5 million, as somebody with sanctified common sense, you should be asking, for what purpose? What service did I render? The person comes tomorrow and gives you 20 million, just like that. You should be asking questions because the day they are going to make demands, I hope you'll be ready to meet those demands. And so, if you are affluent, I don't have a problem. You may have high taste. But I always ask people, do you want to marry a person or do you want to marry things? Because there are two different things. If it is things you want to marry, then you need to choose one. You see a lot of people who marry things, and then when the person begins to beat them black and blue, they now come out and they are complaining. But when you were driving the car, you were enjoying it. When he was buying the phone that you couldn't afford, you were flaunting the phone and telling your friends, see what he gave me. And please, I'm going to beg you, don't go and put pressure on your own relationship because someone else is getting some gifts from some other person. There are things your partner is bringing in that money cannot buy.
Correct.
Peace of mind, respect for your person, support in so many ways that money cannot buy. Because at the deepest level of human comprehension, you get to a point where you realize that there are some things bigger than money.
Yes.
Right? And so there are people who have money, but they don't have peace of mind. They can't sleep. So if I ask you to choose between the money and ability to sleep, would you choose money? Right? And so you need to, you don't know the pleasure of going to bed, knowing you owe nobody owes you. You don't have 1 billion, but then you are fine. It's the frequency, we call it Hakuna Matata, no worries, right? So I have nobody coming to wake me up and say, oh, we are taking your car, we are taking your shoe, we are taking your whatever. So please, I'm going to appeal to people. Let's prioritize what will make a relationship long-lasting. And some of those things, we've talked about them. Now, if you can now afford those things, please, by all measures, don't also, there's another extreme to say, as a lady, you can afford a car. Don't buy yourself a car. If you can buy your house, buy your house. If a man does not marry you because you own a house or you know a car, that man is too small to be your lover. Because if he cannot stand your fitness, it's not fit enough to be your husband.
Correct.
Right? And so that's the other extreme. But to now put unnecessary pressure, because of things, and you say you don't date some people who cannot afford whatever. Very soon you will clock 50.
It's good life. It's got good life.
You will now be asking anybody at all. I just want anybody. And that's not the right way to.
Thank you so much, sir. So I've got one question for couples and another one for people who are single parents. So my next question is, what practical steps can couples take to nurture a relationship built on trust and respect? We love healthy relationships. We want to see more of it. There are people, I keep telling people, marriages are still working. We need to continuously let people know that. So for those who are in those beautiful, healthy marriages, how can they nurture that relationship? How should they make sure that the center continues to hold?
Very simple. The things you used to do when you were dating are the same things you'd seem to do. Unfortunately, for marriages that struggle, they stop doing those things. Right? So if you live in North America, or if you live in the diaspora, for example, the way you run your family is going to be totally different from Africa. In Africa, you have a lot of support system. So there are so many things we take for granted in Africa. There's so many pressures taken off you. You can hire a house help, you have a driver, so that, but here you have to do all these things by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So while marriages in Africa is a bit emotional, marriage is systems based, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why a lot of Africans in diaspora right now, we're teaching them and training them on how to set up systems.
Mm-hmm.
And setting up systems involves a lot of things, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you want to make your marriage lasting, I mean, we have an entire framework that we've designed for people now. But out here, you need to sit down together and ask both of yourselves, what type of marriage do you want to build?
Mm.
It must be a combination of your desires.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just one person insisting, the other person will sabotage the person. So from what both of you have curated, you make it into a uniform family vision.
Mm.
Once you create your family vision, the next, we call it this entire process, the family governance system, you create your family values. Once you create family values, you turn your values to what we call the DNA creed of your family, which is a statement that governs human behavior that is built after your values.
Mm-hmm.
Then based on your vision, you now ask yourself, what are the routines and rituals we must do as a family to keep our love going? So what must we do annually? Maybe annually, on our wedding, whatever, we'll go for boat for a cruise, right? That is constant. We have the dates. What will we do twice a year? What will we do quarterly? What will we do monthly? What will we do weekly? What are the things we'll do daily? Now, those things you do regularly, they can be boring sometimes, but that's what keeps a marriage. That's what keeps a marriage. Because if you don't script your love life out here, you just realize that you can go 5 months and you have forgotten to do the things that nurture your spouse.
Oops.
Right? And so some of those mundane things might be, oh, we're going to an African restaurant every month to go eat, or we're seeing a movie together. And, that sense of couples can quickly grow apart here because of economy. You have to go to work at night, you have to go in the morning, and before you know it, you guys are just strangers, and you're no longer talking about yourself. You are discussing every other thing that is going wrong, bills and all those kind of things. And that's not where you want to be. So it needs to be scripted, right? And above all, surround yourself with a community of people who are like you, right? Because they will inspire you. You can do things together, group dating, going out and stuff, parties, dance. I mean, we go to parties a lot, whenever I'm available and stuff, but even at that, there are things we don't miss at all as a couple, right? So once you can put all those things in place, your life will go with ease, rather than, for someone to remind you that, it's Valentine, you didn't send me a gift. And you're like, I didn't even remember it's Valentine, and all those kind of things. Yeah.
Amazing. And, just one question, because someone said something in the comment here on Instagram. She says it's easy to grow apart in diaspora. Is that true?
Is it to do what?
To grow apart, while you were talking about
absolutely
couples,
absolutely.
Okay.
I've seen it happen over and over and over again. Very easy.
Why is that?
Because here it's about systems. This system, it's also designed for you to grow apart. So you have to do a counter system, because the system empowers the woman, empowers the child. The man is third in the hierarchy out there, right? So if your wife is also reasonable and she plugs into that system, she begins to look at the husband as, I'm bigger than you. If you messed up here, I'm going to deal with you. That's why we always say to people, you see, if you're having problems with your marriages in Africa, and don't think that abroad will make it better. Resolve, beg your wife, do everything you have done against her, undo it before you come here. Because here empowers her to repay you. In good measure, person shaking together. You can literally lose everything, right? So the system is designed for you to grow apart, because, if you are doing shift, for example, right? One person has to do morning, one person has to do night, because it's two people's economy, and that's why I doff my hat for every single mother, every single father living out here in the diaspora, paying bills, doing everything. You guys are our ultimate heroes. How you are doing it, I don't know, but you guys are the heroes, all right? But it's so easy to grow apart, very, very easy. That's why we need to build systems.
Build systems, and of course, for single mothers, what are the green flags some single mothers, single parents generally, should look for when dating to ensure a healthy and supportive relationship? And I can speak to that, as a single parent myself. I know that, like you said, sometimes it's hard for you to separate responsibility from other things that you need to do to even nurture yourself as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And when those things happen, it takes a lot of self-discipline too, and self-awareness to actually say, okay, you know what? Yes, the children are important, but this other side of my life is also important. So
Yes.
how do we as single parents, now nurture, those relationships that we have to make sure there is a balance between
Yes.
raising children who need to see the importance of being raised in a healthy environment,
Mm-hmm.
and of course also being available for a significant partner.
Okay, so when I'm dealing with people like that, I do the three duplexes therapy sometimes to know exactly where they are at. So I ask them to build three duplexes or three houses.
Mhm,
One is the person called you, the other
mhm,
person is the lover in you, and the third person is the mother or the father in you, parenting. So the first person is the you without any entanglement.
mhm,
I ask them to go all through the rooms, to go to the kitchen, go through the living room, and I ask them to go into their bedroom, which is what's going on in your life that nobody else knows about you? What is the deepest secret in your bedroom that makes you cry? Then
mm,
they go through the other one, which is the lover called you. What does your bedroom look like? And the lover called you. What does your living room look like? What does your kitchen look like? Then they go to the parents, and the mother or the father called you, and they go through it as well. You realize that, and I asked them, which of the three did you find absolute serenity and you didn't want to go out? You realize that it's children, the
mm,
one that makes them mother.
mhm.
Which one did you run out of very fast? Is that the lover or the person? Now, if it's the person that they ran out of, it means they need to do a lot of self-nurturing. Because basically what that is saying is that they are sacrificing themselves to please their children. Once the children leaves home, after they get married and they leave home, you are going to come back to meet that person. And that's why a lot of them are moving and go and be causing trouble in their children's house, because they literally live their lives for their children.
Mm.
Right. And so if the other one is that they have no love life, we want to find out, are you still dealing with pain? Are you still dealing with trauma that you have? Are you afraid?
Mm.
Because people don't understand that not everyone is like the person that dealt with you. The person that served you breakfast, that's not a representation of every. And then some of them, the big problem they have is, even though they want a lover, they want a lover that is from their tribe, from their race, or from their country. So even if other tribes show up in front of them, let's say a white person show up, who is Jesus Christ, they don't have capacity to recognize him because they don't consider that person. So they don't want a man or a woman. They want a tribe, a race, and a religion. Right. And so it's easy to become deceived that way. And so what we do with some of them is to now say, you know what? You have put so much attention on parenting
Mhm.
that you have failed to nurture the you, and you have
Mm.
failed to nurture your love life. So
Mm.
I begin to ask, who are your friends? Where do you go? Where do you
Mhm.
hang out? When was the last time you met a new person? What did you
Mhm.
discuss? And blah, blah, blah. So we begin to set assignments for them. So I can
Mhm.
say to them, this week you have to meet like 5 new people. And you have
Mhm.
to be the ones who actually approach them. And this
Mhm.
is what you have to say. And stuff like so. You literally coach them, because people can numb their love life as a result of a past trauma, because they are afraid of going through that experience again. But you see, that fear is still proof that you have not overcome that trauma. Because if you sustain that fear will attract what you are running away from into your life again in another format.
Mm.
So you don't want to hold the person out you in consideration at all. You want to focus on, this is what I want, and this is what I'm going to go for, right? And so with that, you start to build a community of people share your values,
Mm.
because friendship is actually the best place to fish, right? And
Mm.
but if we are not building friendship, it's going to be very, very tough. But I
Mm.
always say to people, if you a lot of single mothers I've met, single fathers, you have a lot of love to give. Don't deny yourself of that love.
Powerful. Thank you so much. Thank you for the time today. You've blessed us. Like, I mean, there's so much to unpack here. we can actually break this into different tiers. And so I know there are a lot of programs that you have at Praise Fowowe, International, and of course, the family systems. Is there anything at all that people can actually register for? Is there any ongoing program, something coming up soon? Just to make sure there is a follow-up to this session, because I know there are a lot of people who would watch this and they really want to connect with you. If they're not able to say get you on Calendly, can they be part of those programs to just learn some of these teachings?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of programs that people can benefit from. For example, sometimes in November, we're taking singles and couples and people want to hang out. We're taking them to Doha, November 3rd to November 8th, 6 days lockdown, 6 nights. They're going to do tours, they're going to do parties, they're going to do a lot of engagements and stuff like that. Yeah, so people can actually plan for that to come to Doha with us. Or we have what we call governance system, which is the new thing we just did. It's a Afrocentric family excellence course, which we just designed for people in the diaspora. If you're planning to come to the diaspora, you have been in the diaspora, it's the 6 things you need to know to build a family, because families collapse easily here. And then so we reflect it on what people need to do. So that's available. They can get that, and it's self-paced and it's cheap enough. You can do it as self-paced. But again, you can also talk to me, shoot me a mail or something, and I can sit with you and recommend what you might need for you. Yes.
Thank you. And I already shared that email on Instagram. I'm going to be sharing on Facebook as well. It's praisefowowe@gmail.com. And to book a session is calendly.com/praisefowowe. So if I were you, I would go ahead and shoot that email and, of course, book that session with him. Now, for the last part, which is the interesting part, what actually birthed this session today was what you shared on Facebook that I reshared when you said someone in the US, who is looking for, or people were looking for a relationship.
Yes.
So should we look forward to you starting some sort of ministry in that direction? Because the influx of inbox that I got is the reason why we're here today. I'm like, what? Is this a need? So should we look forward to that? Are you planning on saying, holding some sort of sessions?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting that I've done matchmaking informally. I have quite a number of couples that I was one that brought them together. But I don't consider myself as a matchmaker, but it's something I've done very well. Nick and Shola Ajayi are very prominent matchmakers today. But I brought them together as far back as campus, when we were on campus, right? I was the first person to spot them and say, what are you guys, come together. So I've always done that. I have a way that good people talk to me, good guys and girls talk to me, but they never meet, right? And so the good girls go and meet the bad boys, right? And I'm always asking myself why, right? And so 2 days ago, last year, I created a process called the C-suite, finding love for C-suite executives who don't have time, right? So I put 12 C-suites through that entire framework, right? To say, okay, this is what you need to do. This is why you're not getting, I was analyzing, I'll go on their page. I'll look at their page and tell them, as a guy, if I wanted to date you, I wouldn't date you. This is the reason. This is what you're wearing. Change this one. Look at this, blah, 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 blah. And the model I created was a model that will make you attract the right person into your life. I'm not even the one giving it to you, right? And over 68% of them are in good relationships today. Just by following what I taught them, right? So I was talking to one of mine who wanted a wife, and then, so I was like, oh, I have this lady, she's a very good lady. I have coached her, and I think she's good. And then he said, oh, give me a number. And then I told the lady, someone is going to go. And then first day that they met, they had not even met. They spoke for like 4 hours, right? And so the lady said to me, Praise, where did you keep this guy all this while? And the guy said to me, Praise, you sent me my friend. He said, we just synced and blah, 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 So I started teasing both of them that you guys need to pay me and stuff like that. And so I realized that I'm meeting a lot of people who are married, married before they want to remarry. I'm seeing a problem. Many of the guys who had gone through divorce don't want to remarry now because the dating apps gives them free sex, right? Because they can go on the dating apps and then meet like, they can have like 5 knack partners, regularly. So if they can get that, why would they want to commit into? Because they have not also healed from the trauma.
From the
Right.
trauma.
And so I started saying, okay, let's find a way to help these people, So I'm not even, I know a couple of guys that I can recommend, but without those guys, I know what to do for them to actually look within their space and attract the right fix for themselves. And so I'm very brutal in analyzing them. They go through the entire process and framework, and then I'm able to. So I just put it there, and then my inbox is buzzing of people they want. So in fact, after this call now, I have one of them. I'm going to have a session with her and then run assessment, check if she's ready, and give us some tips and all. Then if she wants to go further, I can get into coaching sessions and all those things with her. So it's something I just love to help people. I believe that good people exist, right? But oftentimes they don't meet, and I know why they don't meet, because there's what we call aura management, that if you don't change your aura, you can be attracting the wrong people into your life. And it's something I do so well. So yeah, we might be, it's just I don't like the idea of dating apps, because I always love the human touch, where you are in control of what you are doing, rather than just with a random person online.
Amazing. And for anyone who is listening right now, especially those who are still scared of going into a new relationship, like you said, there are people who these are even people who have never been married before. They just listen to all these things on the internet and they draw their own informed conclusion, like, no, I don't want to go into a relationship. I just want to be single. I mean, I don't have a problem with those who say they don't want to give birth to children and all of that. Those are choices people make. But those who make those decisions because of fear, so please, what do you have to say to them? And, we can close up with that. The singles, they are watching right now. They're seeing all these toxic things on the internet flying. Like, you see those comments like, no, I don't want to get married. So please, something for them.
You see, that something is loud and bold doesn't mean the thing is right. And you have to understand that an influencer is not your role model. Right? What made you fall in love with the person was not their love life. What made you fall in love with them was their acting skill or music. Right? Many of the people you claim you love as your influencers, you can't even get into it. You can't survive 1 week of relationship with them. And so your talent is not a function of any form of intelligence. It's God's given. What you do with it is what makes all the difference. Absolutely. And so we put a lot of pressure on celebs by expecting their marriage to work and become role model marriages. Because how many celebs have you seen in premarital classes? How many of them have you seen sit down to say, okay, I want to learn how marriages work, right? Because they are always too busy and they are going from one place to the other. And then without a proper coach in their lives, they will assume that the fame will make a marriage work, but fame doesn't make a marriage work, right? And so you have to understand that there are so many marriages working, but they are not on social media, right? Because marriage is not a red carpet, right? And red carpet is what influencers are used to. Influencers, that's why they call it showbiz. It's a show. It's not the reality. Marriage is reality. And marriage will show you that show cannot show here, right? And so what I need you to understand is that you will attract your fears. You will attract your fears. You become what you behold consistently. And so instead of bothering about someone who's, there is hardly any marriages that they say crashed that should surprise anybody, really.
Correct.
I'm surprised that people are surprised, but if you are a deep thinker, you should not be surprised, because there are fundamentals. And that's why we always say, even before you get married, check the kind of family people came out from. Check how they were raised. Those things are critical, right? So you need to understand that if you are a good person, you deserve a good person. And if both of you are good, you will build a good marriage if you have
Correct.
enough knowledge. And
Correct.
so prioritize knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Let people know that your own case is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone is, the person you are dating is not a celebrity. It's not that guy, right? And that somebody's life, I mean, it's like saying that because people had car accident, you will no longer drive a car. You are still driving a
Mm.
car. So that
Yep.
some marriage break doesn't mean your own marriage cannot work. So
Work.
don't let fear drive you. Be driven by faith and be driven by what you have absolute control over, and marry your friend. If you do
Mm.
that, marriage will be enjoyable for you.
Absolutely. Be driven by faith and marry your friend. And that brings me to something that I always say, may we not marry the weapon fashioned against us. So
Amen.
please look forward to marrying a person who can always stand in the gap for you. And marriage is beautiful. Pay attention to your partner, not the internet. Some of you guys need to actually just know out of what you see on the internet and focus on what is actually working in real life. Thank you so much for this absolute. This is packed. This is really packed. So for everyone, once again, I see someone from your organization, I think, or someone that has taken your course. She's on Instagram, and her name is Marina Esiri.
Oh, Marina is serious. Marina.
Special shout out to Marina. Special shout out to Toby, Lady Mextors, everyone who joined. I see you all. I can see you guys on Facebook. I see you on Instagram and YouTube. Thank you for contributing. But beyond that, please share this with somebody who needs it. Share it as a Valentine gift. And you can also have, if you need more information, you want to learn more about this, or you need counseling, email praisefowowe@gmail.com. That is a way to help people sometimes, nudging them in the right direction to get the solution that they need. And that's a wrap from us today. Thank you so much, sir. I wish you a beautiful, beautiful day. And my love to Auntie Tosin and my beautiful brother and sister. Have a beautiful evening, sir.
Yeah, bye.
Bye for now, sir. All right, everyone. And that's a wrap from me. Thank you for joining us today. God bless you. God bless you. I appreciate the love and support. And I will be back next time for us to continue, another conversation, something more interesting, something not more interesting, something interesting, actually. Every conversation I bring here, they're always really interesting, by the way. All right. So please have a beautiful Valentine. Love somebody, show love to somebody. But beyond that, love yourself. You deserve the love that you're about to give to someone as well. Bye for now.